All right, everybody. Here is another good cumulative FRQ that gives us a lot of good info. So assume the United States is operating at full employment. So that tells you that we're at our LRAS, long run equilibrium for aggregate supply, aggregate demand, and SRAS all intersecting at the same point. So correctly labeled graph, show each of the following, PL1 and Y1. So you've even seen this before. This is basically exactly how most of these begin. So vertical LRAS and downsloping AD, upsloping SRAS. We've got real GDP, label our axis, and PL over here. So Y1 and PL1 there. Okay, so that takes care of A. This is just, we're at long run equilibrium and everything is good. Now, assume that personal savings in the United States increase. Using a correctly labeled graph of the loanable funds market, show the impact of the increase in personal savings on the real interest rate. So now we're going to label B, and we got a new graph to draw. So here we go. We're talking about interest rates here, and that should be the real interest rate. And then Q, loanable funds. Okay, so supply and demand. So when savings increases, what that means is more people are putting their money into banks. And that is going to look like a rightward shift and increase in the supply of loanable funds. What that is then going to do is drop the real interest rate. So the real interest rate will go down. So do we have to do anything else? No, that's okay. So we graphed it and we did it. There we go. All right. So now we're up to C. Based on the real interest rate change identified in Part B, will interest rate sensitive expenditures increase? So C1, they will increase because real interest rates fall. So anything that you're going to borrow money for becomes cheaper, right? So, right now, interest rates are falling because people are, saving more and all that sort of stuff. So in order to encourage more spending, interest rates people are dropping interest rates. That will increase. What will happen to the rate of economic growth? So in this, right now, because we're in kind of a weird recessionary thing, this won't necessarily be true. But normally, if people save more and interest rates fall, then growth will increase. Growth will rise because investment gets cheaper. And, investment is IG, that component. So you'll want to kind of pay attention to that. Another thing that you could do, you don't have to, would be to draw a production possibilities curve and, show how investment is pushing out to the right. Again, you don't need to do that, but you could. All right, now on to D. Assume the real interest rate of the Eurozone increases relative to the real interest rate of the United States. So draw a correctly labeled graph of the Forex market for the euro. All right, so it is important that it's the market for the euro. So this is going to be quantity euros. Show the impact of the change in real interest rate in the Eurozone on each of the following. Demand for the euro, which we have to explain, and then the value of the euro relative to the dollar. So remember our phrase. I got to label this as D. Okay. So our phrase, A price of 1, B quantity B. So we're looking at the, do I have to draw the graph? I don't have to draw the graph, but I'm going to do it anyway, just to kind of show you guys what it looks like. So, oh no, I do have to draw the graph. Okay, so the euro price of $1, quantity dollars. So we have demand for dollars and supply of dollars. Okay, so, oh, wait, did I do this wrong? Yep. It's the market for euros. So I made the mistake that I was telling you not to make. So Q euro, and this is going to be the dollar price of 1 euro. Sorry, so I did this backwards. Now it is fixed, the dollar price of 1 euro. And we got our 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so demand for the euro will rise. Okay, so this is one of our relative interest rates is one of our determinants, and if investors can get a greater rate of return by investing in Europe than they can in the United States, then they will do so. In order to invest in Europe, you have to have euros. So Americans will demand more euros. When that happens, if we started off with an exchange rate of $2 to buy €1, so $2 to buy €1, then by demanding more euros, now we're going to have to pay, say, 250 or 275 to get €1. What that means, so we see that demand rises for euros in order to invest. Americans buy more euros. That little E is the sign for euro. And then the other question is what happens to the value of the euro relative to the dollar? So the euro appreciates, becomes stronger or more valuable relative to the dollar. So it appreciates against the dollar. All right, so that's that. Now on to E. Assume that the United States current account balance is zero based on the change in the value of the euro identified in D. Will the United States current account be in surplus, deficit, or remain at zero? So basically what this means is since the euro appreciates against the dollar, that means that euro goods are more expensive. You don't have to write all this out, I'm explaining it. Are more expensive for Americans. And American goods are cheaper for Europeans. So Americans, because European goods are more expensive, will import less, and Europeans will buy more, which means Americans will export more. Okay, so people always talk about whether it's good to have a strong dollar or whatever. If we are interested in having a smaller trade deficit, then a weak dollar actually helps us accomplish that more because we will import less, so we'll buy more American goods, and we will export more, selling more goods overseas. So a weak dollar actually helps a trade deficit. Now, whether trade deficits are good or bad is not an easy question. There are a lot of people in the current media right now who are trying to make a case that it's a terrible thing to have a trade deficit. Not necessarily true. And also, a lot of those same people also want a strong dollar, which doesn't make a lot of sense. But, that's where we are. So the final answer there is we will be in surplus because XN is going to become much more positive. Export more and import less. Thank you, folks. Have a good one.